believe that discipline can be more powerful than talent?
Yes, I believe discipline in most cases is more impactful than talent, right? Because talent, let's just say talent is, you have God given talent, right? And to discover your God given talent requires practice, it requires awareness, it requires experimentation, right? You have to try things out to see what you're good at. And then to be exceptional or to be really good at it, right, when you've identified what your talent is, it requires more activity, it requires more practice, right? And practicing, requires sacrifice, right? Again, right? Sacrifice, discipline, right? Practicing requires sacrifice because let's say you have a thing for playing football or playing football, right? And or playing basketball, and you've identified that. In the summer times when your friends invite you to parties or all kinds of stuff, activities, and you know that you have a goal, a mark that you plan to hit, right, for the next semester or the next, or to get to a certain level, it requires practice and discipline to stay focused, to keep your eyes, stay focused and keep your eyes on the prize, right? Keep your eyes on the target and put those so-called, those 10,000 hours in, right? To put those hours to make sure that you separate yourself from the pack. So discipline and talent are two different things, but if you're more disciplined than someone who is naturally talented, it's only a matter of time before you exceed them, right? Before you're able to you're able to outproduce them, right? You're able to show more outcomes, you have more results, and in that case, discipline will always trump talent.
What role does discipline play in achieving success?
Discipline is very important in achieving success, because without discipline, it's almost impossible to achieve any level of success, right? Now you can't have you absolutely, one absolutely can have a stroke of luck. And even in the event that you have that, see, discipline has a way of making you appreciate how you achieved something or how you got to a certain level, because you're able to look back within a certain timeline and say, oh, and it makes you more likely to hold on to and cherish your accomplishments or your whatever your possessions, whatever it is that you may have, right? Because you know what it took you, you know the pain that it took you, that journey, that painful journey it took you to get there. So discipline is very important in attaining success. Without discipline, unless you have a stroke of luck, which if you do, just like most lottery winners, they usually broke within or file bankrupt within a period of 2 years or more, maybe even less, right? Because it was a stroke of luck, as opposed to when you attain your wealth or your resources through hard work and resilience and strategizing. You're able to, even if you take risks and lose them and lose those things, they're more calculated risks, right? And even through the process of taking risks, you're also forging relationships that, with people who are able to hold you or grab you when you fall, right? And give you, people understand when you lose what you have through taking risks, as opposed to just being frivolous or out there. And so discipline is very important in achieving success. It goes hand in hand.
Who do you feel like in the music industry is strictly relying on their talent and not discipline?
I would rather not answer that question directly, because that's a tricky question, because unless you know people intimately and you have day-to-day experience with them, it's kind of hard to say, to know what their schedule is, to know when they're on or off or not working when others are working. So I don't know that I can give a definitive answer on that. Now, and then when you know people up close and personal, if they're not disciplined, they're likely, and they're in your circle or around you, they're likely more prone to throw you off. So you naturally don't want to associate with them. And personally, I tend to not associate with people who are not disciplined. So I wouldn't even be able to give you the answer because, once I identify that in people, I tend to go the other way. And in fact, most times when people try you a few times and see that you're extremely disciplined and that you never go off the path of your goal, they tend to just scurry and go the other way because they want, people who are like them. So I wouldn't be able to tell you people who just strictly rely on their talent and not discipline, because I don't think I know, I wouldn't, unless I know them well enough and they're in my circle. But it's like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Do you believe there's a world in which discipline and work-life balance exist?
Discipline and work-life balance very well could exist. It absolutely does exist, right? So just because you're disciplined doesn't mean that you cannot carve out time for things that are important, right? It just depends on how much of a high performer you are. Now the higher performers have difficulty with that so-called work-life balance, right? Because they're people who are workaholics, like people say, or they're addicted to their work and they enjoy. In fact, a part of their balance is working more, continuing to work. So, but yes, absolutely, there is you can definitely find that work-life balance with discipline as well. It very well exists. Yes.
What does it look like to have just one person on your team who doesn't have discipline?
One person on your team who doesn't have discipline can definitely derail the team because let's use the analogy of a chain, for instance, right? If you have a chain that's very strong, if you have a chain that's strong, but you have a weak link on the chain, right? If the chain is designed to pull, let's say, 1,000 pounds, and you have a weak link, the chain will be ineffective. The chain will break, right? But it's not the whole chain that broke. It's that weak link that broke. So a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and same thing applies with a team. A team is only as strong as its weakest link. Thank you. I'll see you around in the next one. Thank you.